certain positions like corner, Adam, linebacker, where there are a decent number of guys. You may not be in love with them, but they could help the Eagles on that B and C level market. And of course, a lot of veterans tend to get also cut in the next day or so as teams bring on
another one. Yep.
And so the cupboard kind of replenishes a little bit with, again, guys who can come in here and help you fill a role the team has to build through the draft. We know that. Before we start taking questions, and certainly we'll try to get to as many as possible today, as we'd like to keep everything funneled on right now, free agency, things going on with the team. We'll get into the draft probably next week and after this, but we will get into questions. I do want to go through a few situations right now that are kind of out there with the Eagles as far as Zach Ertz right now. Adam, what's your understanding? Because you said on our podcast that he has a market. I know, we both heard that at one point the Eagles were looking for a 3. We didn't know how realistic that was. But what's your understanding?
Yeah. They're not even close to that. He'll be moved when they get something that's fair. Okay. I don't know how else to say it. They're not getting anything that's I based on what I've heard from other teams and kind of what they're thinking is, I'm not saying the Eagles are unrealistic with their approach or what they're asking for. But to me, if they can get a 4, I got to believe he's moved. No, I'm not in the discussions. Okay. I'm not a general manager. I've talked to enough teams who need a tight end for this draft. Ertz, it turns 31. Okay. Coming off ankle surgery. That's the negative. The positives are, if he's healthy, a proven performer, high-level character guy. You never have to worry about him. He's a good leader. Great for the community. But from a football standpoint on the field, Jeff, he produces. But you have to ask yourself, which Zach Ertz are you getting? And that's the conversations that I've had with other teams. As an older player, you're not going to give up a 1, a 2, or a 3 for this guy. You're not, because he's coming off surgery and he's older. Now,
right.
What could he be, Jeff? Let me ask you a question. Do you see him as a starting NFL tight end or 1A? How do you see him?
That's a great question. Just like you're not a GM, I don't consider myself a talent evaluator to that degree, but I do think Zach Ertz can still play. I think he can be your number 1 tight end if you have really good outside weaponry and you don't need your number 1 tight end to catch 60 balls in a year. I think if you like a 2 tight end system, which clearly the New England Patriots are going to go back to doing. You saw that they signed Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith to pretty good deals. By the way, that helps, I think, the Eagles, because one team just took 2 tight ends off the market, meaning more teams, and including the Chargers right now after losing Henry, might want to get into the sweepstakes on what it costs to take to get Zach Ertz. But Adam, I remember watching a lot of tape earlier in the year before Zach got hurt. And while we were analyzing Carson Wentz, I noticed several times, and I even made GIFs and pointed it out in some stories and on social media, that Zach Ertz would get open, but the ball wasn't, either Carson didn't see him or the ball wasn't getting there. So there's no question he was a little bit slower. There's no question his body language, and I think the contract was probably impacting him. But you put him in a good environment with a good quarterback, some good weapons around him like he's had here, and I still think he can be a very serviceable number 1 tight end or number 2 who's seeing a lot of time in 12 personnel.
Yeah, I would say the Chargers would make the most sense because they have a hole. Now with Hunter Henry gone, he's really talented. He just had an injury history. Last season, what happened was Virgil Green, their blocking tight end, got hurt, so he had to play more as a Y tight end. He had to play in line more than he normally would. So his numbers were down. He's still good. But if you look at the rest of the tight end landscape, Jeff, of the UFAs, well, Jared Cook he was released, okay? The Saints did one of these preemptive free agency releases. He was going to be a UFA, so they cut him before he became a UFA. I don't know why that happens. It happens a couple times per free agency, but they cut him. Gerald Everett, who's a real athletic tight end, who was probably overdrafted a little bit by the Rams as a second rounder. He's out there. I expect him to go within the first 2 or 3 days here once the real window opens up. We had the pre-free agency window open up where half the league is got deals, but Everett's out there. And other than that, you got the Trey Burtons of the world. Tyler Kroft is more of a blocking tight end. Jordan Reed, who's had a ton of injuries. So I would say this. Once Gerald Everett and potentially Cook off the books, and Kyle Rudolph only blocks. And he's just he is a red zone guy if you want to throw it to him, but he's a blocking tight end where Zach's a receiving tight end.
Mm-hmm.
You make a good point with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry off the board. Maybe the Eagles' leverage will be better. I don't think that they have a fourth right now. That's just my sense talking to other teams. Those same teams were right that the Eagles were not getting a first-round pick, a true first-round pick for Wentz. I would say that the Eagles are prepared to wait this out. Here's the difference. This is how contracts really mean a lot. You and I study this stuff. There's no guaranteed money conversion. It's straight cash. That's all Zach has. And I understand he would love to be with his new team. Just get it over with. I understand that. But from a club standpoint, you have to ask yourself, what's the hurry? We're not even if they have OTAs, Jeff. Yes, if you're a new team, if I want Zach Ertz, I want him probably right before the draft. Get him the playbook. I want him in May OTAs if we have them.
Right.
So that's just my thought process. I don't think there needs to be a rush to do this.
No, I agree with you. More so for the team that wants to acquire him, wants to get him in, more so than the Eagles just have to get him off of the roster. So we'll talk a little bit about more. Well, we'll get into that more. We'll get in to the backup quarterback situation when we do our podcast. It'll drop Thursday, 6 a.m. But it is important to note now that two guys that you thought the Eagles would want to target with their history of the coaching staff, Tyrod Taylor and Jacoby Brissett, are no longer available, with Tyrod Taylor going to the Houston Texans, Jacoby Brissett signing with the Miami Dolphins. And so it still leaves, there are still a decent number of veteran backup quarterbacks out there. And we've talked in the past about some guys that they should be interested, some guys who are just out there who have been backup quarterbacks for a while. So it's not like the cupboard is completely bare. It's just bare of guys with experience in Shane Steichen or Nick Sirianni's offense.
Yeah, so a couple things on the quarterback situation. Although I think in the end, Flacco probably will re-sign with the Jets. If he doesn't, I would expect the Eagles to have interest in him. They were, as we reported last year, and from what I understand, it still holds true. They would have some interest in him. I don't know what Flacco wants from money. Last year, the Eagles had – let's leave the Sudfeld stuff to the left. Put this over here. But when you just look at the situation on its own, with Flacco, the Eagles' big issue is that he needed neck surgery. And because of the situation that the veteran wouldn't be ready, they felt that Sudfeld, in addition to Doug Peterson telling Sudfeld he'd be the two, which was foolish. That never should have happened. The Eagles were not going to wait out Flacco's neck surgery. So, okay. So we fast forward to now. He's healthy. He did well when he had to play, by the way. And look, if you look at the list that's out there, you just mentioned all the guys who went off the board. Mariota, I know it's out there that the Eagles had some interest or would have some interest. I'm told, I was told as of Monday that the Raiders had not asked him for a pay cut yet. But I can't. The word I'd receive is they're going to do that. I didn't say when they were going to do that. If I don't see them letting him play at $10 million, there's no guarantees in it. Now, the question would be, if they do ask him to take a pay cut, if he refuses and gets released and they can't figure out how to get him back, he should have a pretty good market, because I know he barely played. He filled in for Derek Carr when Carr got hurt in one game. He looked healthy. And, I would expect them to be at least a half dozen teams involved for Mariota. Why? Because there's still a bunch of teams that need a backup quarterback.
There are. The Eagles being one of them. So We'll get into that even more in the podcast. All right, we're getting to our questions. Certainly, if you're on the live stream right now, ask away. We'll try to get to as many as possible. First, I want to pay some bills and let people know that March's biggest tournament is finally here. We don't know who'll be cutting down the nets at the end, but we know there's going to be no shortage of madness. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of action. So bet $4 on an underdog, and you can win $256 if they win. It's just that simple. You turn $4 into $256 because it's 64-1 odds. Every dollar you bet could turn into $64. So pick any of the college basketball underdogs for your shot to win $256. That's all it takes on a $4 bet. And there's no better way to put your college basketball knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. And don't worry if college basketball is not for you. DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on golf, hockey, so much more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's using the promo code ITB to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You got to be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply, and in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER. And, of course, see DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. All right, Adam, we got a bunch of questions lined up. I want to start off with a question from, and this is a pretty interesting one, from Chris Glover. And he asks about with the quarterback contracts continuing to explode, and he makes note of Dak Prescott getting a really big deal from the Cowboys. He asks if we see an up-and-coming quarterback change, an up-and-coming quarterback will change the market and take a fully guaranteed longer-term deal that would give the team a break annually. And he says, for example, let's say Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson goes for 5 years, 150 fully guaranteed, but they get $50 million at signing, which would lessen how much money down the road, kind of a win for all.
No, it wouldn't lessen it because you have to fund the whole contract. Fully guaranteed money must be funded.
That's right.
They're not going to do that. I get the thinking, but it's funny. Excuse my language. I forgot to mention this before. The thing that I'm noticing around the league is there's some trickiness, and we'll get into this in Thursday's show. I noticed a trick that teams are using. Like, they'll put a fully guaranteed roster bonus in year 2, but they won't fully guarantee the base salary in year 2. It's the most ridiculous thing because you're not going to cut the guy. If you have a fully guaranteed roster bonus in year 2 that's sizable, you're not going to cut him. It's a way to get around the funding rule, so you don't have to fully guarantee all this money, because the funding rule means that all fully guaranteed money must be funded. It must be put in escrow, like in a deposit box, sort of in a way. You use a euphemism. You have to put it to the side. So no one, it's a fair question, Chris, but no one's going to do 5 years at if it's 5 years and $200 million, they're not going to do it. There's nothing, by the way, there's nothing that says any team has to do anything with contracts. They can do whatever the hell they want. And the agents can ask for it. As Andrew Brandt told us, it's up to the agents to insist on it. They don't have to do it. The Cubs can do whatever the hell they want.
What about the idea, though, of just doing contracts with quarterbacks the way you normally would, except in that first year, you just try to give him more guaranteed money to just reduce those? Like, for example...
to reduce the future numbers, you mean? Reduce the future numbers?
Yes. That's what Chris is asking, to help the team be able to sign other guys.
Okay, well, that's different. Right, that's different. Okay, what you're not going to... Okay, so you're saying give them lower base salaries.
Right. You put more guaranteed money in that first year. Now, you may have a rough first year there because you don't have a lot of money to spend on him, but you put as much as you can in the first year so that you can reduce those cap hits.
It's funny. I was talking to a team, 4 years ago. It was 3, whatever it was, right after Kirk Cousins did his, whatever the hell it was, 3 years, first fully guaranteed contract at signing was whatever it was, 3 years or something.
Yeah.
They looked at that, and they also this club wound up thinking they might do 4 years at fully guaranteed. But the problem is you couldn't get around putting up $100 million at signing. You had to put it up in escrow because it would be fully guaranteed. It's kind of based on what Chris is asking. But Chris, I see what you mean. You want to we'll put up $70 million, but we want in years 2, 3, and 4 low base salaries. But see, here's the problem. Those salaries have to be fully guaranteed. You still have to fund it at the signing. You can't get around it. This is, I'm seeing these tricks, and for Thursday's show, I'll have it for us. I don't want to bore people with this contract stuff because most people tune out when you do that. I just want people to understand that why teams won't do this. It's not that these owners are billionaires, but without the remember, they don't get the TV money until a little bit later. Certain times of the year, believe it or not, cash flow is not very good for owners. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the absolute truth.
By the way, another thing a quarterback might not want to do is agree to that kind of structure, because if you have less guaranteed money in year 2, 3, 4, 5, and less cap hit, then you're actually vulnerable to being cut. So if you start to struggle just a little bit, and the team's like, it won't be so much of a massive cap hit in year 2, then you leave your career a little bit vulnerable there. But it was a good question.
Yeah. Let me. Do you want to address the Goodwin stuff, Marquise Goodwin stuff?
Please get into them. We're going to be asked about that. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It was on the personnel notice. Reporters get it. So here's what happened. The personnel notice is the notice that the GMs get, personnel people. So it was tweeted earlier today about Marquise Goodwin's is no longer an Eagle. He's being sent out back to the Niners. I'm sure they're not going to keep him. I don't know what they didn't want him in the first place. So the Eagles get back their 7th. They get a 7th back.
Mm-hmm. What happened though? Why did the trade revert?
They just couldn't. They couldn't. Loosely, I don't think they could agree on his salary for the season. Something like that.
So does that mean the trade was probably contingent upon a restructure? And if he can't agree,
I'm not sure. I don't see, because remember at the time. Well, that's such a good question. This is going back at the draft last year. Did they swap? Would they swap 7, 6? What did they? I don't even remember.
It was a 7th rounder for Marquise Goodwin. Yeah.
Okay. So they're getting not a 6th round pick. They would be getting a 7th round pick back, right?
Yeah, they just get the pick that they gave up back.
Yeah, right. They get back. And now they have 11 picks, though. That's the thing. They had 10. Now they have 11.
Right.
It's really. I'm told it's a source says it's about the opt out and other issues. I don't know what else the other issues could be. Again, I'm loosely saying it's contractually related. I don't know what else it could possibly be. I don't know.
Okay. The bottom line is it reverts. So it's like
it doesn't even matter. If you're an Eagles fan, you love it because you're getting a 7th back. Now, some people I know on our Facebook board wanted Goodwin because he's a veteran. He is. He could run. He can. But he's also smaller, and he has an injury history, though they got better late. We know he had the family issue, which thankfully was doing much better. We're happy for he and his wife. But the fact of the matter is he was a long shot to make the team. I still contend they need to get a receiver with size at some point. They were never in the Marvin Jones business. They're not looking to do that. One thing you're going to see them do, and I can't tell you if it's going to be tomorrow or in 3 months, folks, free agency, you got to calm down. I know people love action. Inaction is actually smarter than action early on. Let the market come to you. The one thing Howie Roseman does well, amongst other things, is he's really, really good at reading the market, and he's really good at understanding when to get involved. Is he perfect? No. Every GM has made mistakes in free agency. But he's made his mark in free agency by reading the market. He learned from Banner. For the most part, he reads this pretty well. They're going to wind up signing some players that get released. Again, I don't know who they're eyeing in particular.
Right.
We could talk positions, but they're going to wind up signing a veteran or two at some point, where it's now or 3 months from now. Don't worry about it. Let them. The smart fans get it. The fans who don't know football, who just want them to sign 5 players, you definitely don't want to listen to us. You go listen to the other. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the recent history of Howie coming back has shown that he's been better getting the bargain guys. Rodney McLeod, Brandon Brooks, even Malcolm Jenkins was maybe the 4th or 5th best safety.
That's my point. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then even in for the 1-year guys, he hit on in 2017 fairly well with LeGarrette Blount, with Patrick Peterson. Chris Long was a 2-year guy, but it was almost structured like a 1-year that could have gotten out of. Yeah. I'm sorry, Patrick Robinson. Yeah. Right. Corey Graham. Yeah. Remember, they could still make trades like they traded for Ronald Darby in
I don't know that. So. Right. That's a great point. They did that in training camp, was it? August of that year?
Training
16?
Camp. Yep. Training camp.
I just look, they've gotten, I don't want to say lucky. I know he and Andy Weidel and Joe Douglas before, they did their homework very well in free agency, but free agency is fool's gold, man. You got to be very selective. 17, I hate to say they got lucky. They didn't get lucky. It was more of very good evaluations, but everything worked out that year. You got to be careful of how much you sign free agents, man. I'm pretty passionate about teams that build it the right way.
I agree.
Now, I like what Belichick did, though. I'm going to tell you why. I was talking to GM about this earlier. If you're going to go crazy in free agency, you better sign guys in the middle of their career.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Young guys who are looking for their second contracts.
Yeah.
That was Rodney McLeod and Brandon Brooks, and I believe Malcolm Jenkins was also got his second contract from the Eagles. I agree that
folks, if you want them to sign 5 free agents, you're probably not listening to the right show. We're not going to make you happy. if you want to learn the way pro football people think, this is what Jeff and I are learning every day when we talk to people. The way to build it is through the draft. You supplement for free agency. This team does it very well, but they got to do better in the draft. We know how bad it's been, or inconsistent at the very least it's been for 4 years.
There you go. All right, let's get a question in from Nick Augustine. He wants to know why is the wide receiver market slow, and does that give the Eagles a better chance at landing a Juju Smith-Schuster or a Kenny Golladay?
I don't see Golladay. I don't see Golladay at all. I don't. Missed 11 games last season. Would he fit from a size standpoint? Yes, I've always been a Golladay fan, but he had a hip injury. I'm told that he should be fine by now, but I'm told in season the reason why he didn't come back had nothing to do with him not wanting to come back. He actually had a setback in his rehab, so he should be fine now. I'm sure he was good, by early January. So I've asked around, and it's just that the money's not there for him. And I don't know. Let me ask you a question. I mean, would you pay him $20 million a year coming off a season like that?
No, I think that answer. First of all, he's the biggest money usually goes to offensive linemen and defensive ends, and if it's going to go to a wide receiver, it's going to be someone who's very healthy, very young, usually with speed. Remember when Alshon Jeffrey was a free agent? I mean, he had a 1,400 receiving year, but he had injuries and he had the PED thing. So as successful as his resume was, the best he could do was the Eagles' 1 year offer. Wasn't great. So, wide receivers in free agency are very hit and miss. Even last year, guys like Brashad Perriman had to sign a 1 year deal. And now, granted, Juju and Golladay are more proven, but one guy, as you mentioned, is coming off an injury. The other guy looked really good for a year, but then they bring in Deontay Johnson, they bring in other guys, and all of a sudden he gets phased out of the offense a little bit. The problem is that you don't build your team around any single one of these guys. You still need to have really good wide receivers opposite them. So I think that's why this particular market has leveled out. But I still think at the end of the day, they're going to get long-term deals with pretty decent guaranteed money. So I don't – it would be surprising to me if the Eagles were to get in the mix on that.
Yeah, so one thing that GMs like to do and personnel people, and it was kind of like you're alluding to, they like bargain hunting or they like depressed assets. So if a guy like Golladay, I don't want to use him because I don't see them in. I don't think they're going to be in his market. But if, let's say, Juju Smith-Schuster could play that. He actually played 3 positions. He's done X, Z, and Y. Mm-hmm. He's really not an X. He's really a Z to me. He's a move, and obviously we know Rager's going to play there. Now with Marvin Jones going to – where did he go, to Miami? Where did he go?
Was it Miami? I thought it was somewhere else, but okay, it might have been
wherever.
Miami.
He's off the board. He's signed somewhere else, okay? Mm-hmm. If you're not in the Golladay or Juju Smith-Schuster, Will Fuller's got to serve 1 more game on a suspension. He served 5 of them. But he's had a major injury history. John Brown is out there. I know he's got 3 or 4 teams in on him. He turns 31 soon. Eagles are not looking to sign an older guy, I wouldn't think. Although I would like a young veteran. You know who I would absolutely love, but I think it's going to cost them too much. I'm going to check into it. Is Josh Reynolds from the Rams?
Oh, okay, from the Rams. Yeah,
that
makes sense.
Mid-20s, talented. Always a backup. Did well when he's had a start. When he had to start for Cooper Kupp and Kupp had his ACL, he did well. You know who I'd love them to see, and I know that they were not interested at the trade deadline because of the cost. But Curtis Samuel is a guy who's still out there. The money's a little bit rich from talking to teams, but he's so gifted. You've seen him line up as a running back. You've seen him line up as a slot receiver. You've seen him line up outside. Pretty good kid. Really gifted.
I just don't know how they would use him. Yeah, well, like where are you lining him up? I mean, you can line him up everywhere, but for the money you make, he's a gadget kind of player. So he does have a lot of speed, but again, like you've got Rager probably going to be the Z. We'll see who plays the X. Samuel's definitely not an X, Slot, yeah, you could put Curtis Samuel in the slot, but then you're paying a lot of money for a guy who's a slot receiver. I don't know. I would just be leery of what you're giving a guy like that who has no defined role when you don't have that much money to begin with. So we'll see. But I do like your the point you're making. And also Marvin Jones signed with the Jaguars, not Miami. So that's where Marvin Jones.
Really, I'll tell you what. Just one thing. Marvin Jones is the perfect guy. Super high character. And he produces.
Absolutely.
Really good player.
Definitely. Veteran. I like that. All right. Next question comes from Isaiah Fair. He wants to ask us, Adam, about who some outside cornerbacks or safeties in free agency the Eagles could target. And this is like another one where we can put out some names, which we will, that we think that are good, but we have to see how the market settles for them. I think Xavier Rhodes is a perfect example of a guy who would be good for them. He's made 3 Pro Bowls. He's played for the Vikings and the Colts, which is where Jonathan Gannon has his roots, the Vikings and the Colts. And so that's great, but we don't know what kind of money he's going to get.
Right. All the veteran, I'm looking at the list. They're all high-end guys. They don't need a slot corner. I'm assuming I say that they're going to move Maddox back to slot. That's where he's got to be. Come on, put him back there.
Yeah, definitely.
You draft him to be your slot corner. I understand last year they ran out of corners he had to play outside. Or they made a decision at the start of free agency last year, as you and I would learn, that they were going to play him on the outside. And I thought it was a mistake when they did it. I'm like, this can't be what they're going to do. And they wound up not signing anyone.
I know. Well, look, they've got to add a body. It may not be the best body, but they got to add a body. If they could get Malik Hooker, Adam, he's a guy who's young. He would be on his 2nd contract, and you might be able to get him at an affordable rate because he's been injured. But when he's healthy, he's a good player. He's the type of player the Eagles could really use and need.
Yeah, and played for Gannon, obviously, with the Colts. Unfortunately for him, 2 out of his 4 years as a professional were landed on IR. He has had at least one serious injury, but as you said, he's really, really gifted. That would be a good depressed asset. What I mean is a guy that if he keeps going, he's had injuries. He's not a $12 million a year player based on this injury history. If you go in week, if he's there next week, as Bill Polian would say, I love this line. First week, Neiman Marcus prices. Second week, Filene's basement. I love that, and that to me is what it's all about. So I expect the Eagles to go bargain hunting here. A safety and a corner. Xavier Rhodes is we'll see where the money goes. Clearly not the same player he once was, but if you could get him on a 2-year deal with a 1-year structure, meaning if he doesn't play well, cut him and you don't owe him anything, or very little dead money, I would do it. I would do it. If you're looking at the Mackenzie Alexander's going to cost some money. I like? Here's a name, because this guy could run. I know Greg Cosell really liked him coming out of UCLA. It's been inconsistent. Fabian Moreau for Washington.
Okay. Yeah, I like him a lot.
I'm sorry?
I like him a lot, actually. I feel like he's probably going to get more money, but we'll see because he's not signed.
I don't know. He doesn't have much of a market right now from checking into it, and he can run and he's got length. He's had not a lot of injuries, maybe minor stuff, but he's not lived up the way the league saw him. It's probably the best way.
Yeah, I think 2 years ago he was a pretty good player. Maybe last year he didn't have his best year. Wow, that Washington secondary is going to get totally remade if they lose him, and they've already lost Ronald Darby to the Denver.
You know what's crazy? Real quick, Ronald Darby. I found this hard to believe, but talking to teams that were in on him, I know he didn't have a pick, but his tape apparently was really good last season. So why is it these guys leave here?
Have I not said for years on our podcast, Adam, that it's not that Ronald Darby can't play. It's that I felt that the scheme he was in, what they asked him by playing off, he's obviously very jumpy at the slants. He doesn't like being off. He likes being a little closer, a little bit more aggressive, which is the type of defense that Jack Del Rio, as I understand it, plays. And it's not surprising to me in the slightest that he played better somewhere else. I didn't think he was a superstar, but I just felt like he would play better in a different scheme, and he did.
And remember, we had said that some people were saying, "Oh, he's slow." Of course, that's not true. That he's slow.
No way.
What happened was, but I know what they were saying. what we had heard was that he had very bad eye discipline. And when you have slow eyes, when you're not quite sure where your first or second step should be, that makes you look slow. Isn't it amazing? When he gets in the right scheme, he looks like he's a damn good football player. And I'm told he earned that $10 million a year. Like he really. And I was like, Ronald Darby, get out of here. No.
Yeah, we saw it. I thought he played well against the Eagles twice. So when they played them, so I mean, it didn't surprise me. But I digress. Let's get to our next question. Jalen Williams asks. He asked, because Lane Johnson did not wind up restructuring, could he be traded closer to the season?
No.
Would that make it an after a post June 1 trade to limit the limit the
they're not
the cap?
Yeah, they're not. I hear you, but I don't know. They're not looking to trade him. It's no. They would not have done all these restructures to trade him. No, I hear you. I know. It's like everyone's got conspiracy theories with, the first it was the Lane Johnson, Howie Roseman issue, which by the way is not an issue. They had one little riff. They actually have a very good relationship. I've known this for years. You know this, not a secret. I don't know. I don't know I don't know why people think he would be traded. No, I don't know if Lane's going to finish his contract. I didn't say that, but no, I don't. I don't see anything happening. I could see definitely in 2 years. Look, if they draft his replacement, sure. In a couple years, yes, sure.
All right. Let's get to the last question. Victor Chekhov, can you sign a player with an injury history with contract language that lowers the salary if the player is injured or on IR for an extended period? I don't think that's in the NFL that's possible, because no agent's going to allow that, right? Some kind of clause that says if you get hurt, you can incentivize a contract, right?
It actually is. I don't want to give away the player.
Okay.
Now, it might not be quite what he's asking, but it's pretty similar. So there was a player who had hurt his knee. He's on an AFC East team. I can't say the player. I'll just tell you the division.
Okay.
And in there's specific language. If he injures this part of his knee, it's like if he re-injures that part of his knee, let's say it's meniscus, right? It's lateral meniscus or something. They're not on the hook for his contract. Something like that. Like they're not on the hook for maybe the guarantees, something like that. So yeah, you can, but I don't. What exactly did he ask though in this question specifically?
I mean, he was asking if there is language that could lower a player's salary if he gets
that. I've not heard. I think it might have been voiding the injury. Might have been voiding the injury guarantee or something like that. But I've never heard of. I've heard of. If you don't, you would lose your workout bonus. Obviously, if you don't work out some amount of times. There's the weight clause. You get dock pay if you don't hit weight clause, but I don't know. It's an interesting question. I just don't know of any specific one based on what you're asking.
All right. I'll squeeze one more in before we get out. Jake Graff wants to know if the season started today, who the Eagles' 3 linebackers would be. Alex Singleton. Yeah, it won't be Nate Gary. Alex Singleton will be one. I think Duke Riley is a free agent, right? He's going to sign somewhere else, probably.
Yeah, he's up. Yeah, I don't. Right now, Jeff, keep going. Who do you have?
So it's TJ Edwards. It's Alex Singleton. Now, the question Jake asked about Davion Taylor, I cannot tell you he will be ready. We know he's a project. It's hard to tell. I would assume that the third linebacker in a base formation is not on the team yet.
Yeah, Davion Taylor's going to be a 2-down linebacker. He's going to be a nickel. If it all works out, over time, this is only his second year. He barely played as a rookie, which is what we were kind of expecting. Ken Flagel simply was not going to play him. Let's tell the truth here. He was not.
And he wasn't ready too. I mean, both are true. Yeah.
Yeah. He just his pet got basically his son was Nate Gary. The way I looked at it. I mean, let's call it out, man. The guy. I think Ken Flagel's a good coach. But you got to be careful with favorites. I literally, Jeff, you and I would talk to other teams, and they would laugh when they'd see Nate Gary. Just for them, because he's just limited. The guy's a 5th linebacker at best. I don't care how smart the guy is.
Yeah, maybe like a dime, a specialist dime who can cover, a tight end a little bit. But
whatever it is, I'm sure there's a role for him in the National Football League. He's not a starting linebacker. And I get it that the linebackers weren't very good to begin with. But you can't tell me just because he's smart, he deserves to be on the field. Come on, man.
Listen, with you 100%. I think that was pretty much proven for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. So we'll see what the Eagles do at linebacker. We'll see what they do here between now and our next our podcast will do. It'll come out Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Everybody should check out Q&A. The next Q&A is going to drop tomorrow morning, Wednesday at 8 a.m. Adam, it's unbelievable. If you listen to the first two, you're going to – oh, man. First of all, they went through their own experiences as free agents. Quentin Michael had a rare one as a rookie coming out – I'm not a rookie. As a guy coming out of a lockout in 2011. So he wasn't allowed to really talk to anybody. Like, they signed the CBA, and it's like, bam, you're a free agent. Bam, you're signed. So he's got a great story. Jason Avant goes into great detail about his last year as an Eagle with Chip Kelly and how he knew he was going to be a free agent. Not a great relationship between Jason Avant and Chip Kelly. And then they actually spent some time breaking down the Eagles' defensive backfield and talking about some of the free agents that we spoke today, who would fit, who wouldn't fit. I like what they had to say about the new scheme. What they expect from it, and what things that can be done to help this defense out. So make sure you're checking Q&A out on all the Inside the Birds platforms tomorrow morning. It'll drop at 6 a.m. That's going to do it for us. Again, our podcast, the next Inside the Birds, will drop 6 a.m. Thursday, and then we will do another Ask ITB live stream next Tuesday, 8 p.m. We'll move on. We'll get some wrapping up of free agency. Move on a little bit to the draft. I know people have draft questions.
I'm sorry to disappoint people. I was fired up tonight. I came in pissed off, so I apologize if I was being a dick. But I just
the day ends in why, brother.
Fans keep. I mean, I'm seeing on social media. Come on, Howie, do something. Come on, Eagles, do something. You guys do this every year.
Yeah.
Why do you need? Yeah. Okay, I know they weren't good. I know they were 4-11-1. They were 4-11-1 because they haven't done well enough in the draft. Get on about the draft. You've done a good job of doing that. They all know that. They got to get the draft right. But ease up on free agency. You don't need to jump in. And again, free agency it goes on for weeks and months. Ease up. Just relax.
Definitely. And for those who are asking, a couple of late questions came about our reaction to the Doug Peterson interview. We will make sure with John Clark, where he had a really interesting interview with John Clark. We'll make sure we cover that a little bit in the next podcast as well. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Big thanks to our buddy who helps produce this, Jimmy Hayden from Rebel Hill Productions. And we will catch you all on the next episode of Inside the Birds TV presented by DraftKings. Have a good night, everybody.